Welcome to my channel. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe and like. The acrid tang of scorched metal mingled with the sharp bite of alien liquor, a blend any space drifter would recognize, like the breath of ancient, creaking space stations. I'm Caleb Voss, just a ship mechanic from Earth, my worn jumpsuit stained with engine grease, pockets jingling with a few credits barely enough for a decent meal. Zephyr 9, this floating scrap heap of a station drifting among the stars, wasn't where I planned to linger. The freighter I worked on had blown its plasma core, a cheap, faulty piece I'd warned about weeks ago, and now I was stuck here, holed up in a dive bar called the Black Hole. The name alone felt like a bad omen, as if it could swallow me and the last scraps of my optimism whole. The bar was a zoo. Raucous laughter and heated arguments clashed like a chaotic symphony, drowning out the pulsing electronic music from some corner. Neon lights flickered, green, then red, casting a garish glow over faces that didn't belong in any Earth bar. A reptilian guy with a forked tongue haggled over a shipment, amorphous blobs drifted like living fog, and cloaked figures traded glances that screamed secrets. I shoved through the crowd, shoulders jostled, nose assaulted by sweat and metal. All I wanted was a quiet corner, a cheap drink, and a few hours to forget the busted engine waiting for me. I found a small table, its edge chipped, surface sticky with something I didn't care to identify. A waiter, 4 arms, bulging eyes, glided by like a gust of wind, tossing me a glass of steaming green liquor. I took a sip, the burn hitting my throat like a slap, nearly choking me. But then, amidst the chaos, my eyes locked onto something at the bar's center. On a small pedestal, suspended in a faint purple glow, was a stone. No bigger than my fist, its surface shimmered like it held an entire galaxy, swirling veins alive with motion, light dancing within like a million trapped stars. Whispers rippled through the crowd, laced with awe and fear. The Soul Stone, they called it, a relic from a civilization long gone before humans even dreamed of leaving their blue sky. Earth had taught me to scoff at mysticism. Everything had an explanation, just needed a clear head, a good wrench, and sometimes a solid whack. I'd seen plenty of weird tech on stations like this, from self-regenerating reactor cores to plasma guns that could erase planets, but nothing felt like this stone. It wasn't just an object. It called to me, not with words, but with a pull deep in my chest, like a heartbeat from the universe's core. I took another swig, trying to shake the crazy thought. "You're a mechanic, Caleb," I muttered. "Not a wizard." But my hands, as if possessed, left the glass, reaching for the stone. The crowd went dead silent, the air sucked dry, heavy enough I could hear my own pulse hammering. My fingers brushed the stone, ice cold, yet warm, pulsing like it was alive, syncing with my blood. A flare of light sparked, faint but sharp, like a star waking up. Every eye in the bar turned to me, from curious to horrified, as if I'd committed some unforgivable sin. And then I saw her. Standing amidst the frozen crowd was a woman so beautiful my heart skipped. Her hair flowed like liquid silver, glinting under the neon, each strand woven from starlight. Her amber eyes burned, not with reflected light, but from within, twin flames piercing my soul. She wasn't human, small, pointed ears twitched as our gazes met, like something out of myth. Her gossamer cloak, woven from fabric I'd never seen, clung to her like it was crafted by gods. But her eyes, wild, almost panicked, sent a chill down my spine, as if she saw something in me I didn't know existed. "What have you done?" Her voice cut through the air, smooth as a melody but cold as a blade. I wanted to answer, to say I didn't know, that I'd only touched the damn thing by accident. But my throat locked, like the stone had stolen my words. The crowd stirred, hostile murmurs spreading like wildfire. A hulking figure, scaly skin, yellow eyes blazing, lumbered forward, gripping a metal rod crackling with electricity, a weapon that could tear me apart. "He's activated it!" the brute roared, his voice shaking the floor, rattling my glass. "Stupid human! He'll kill us all!" I clutched the stone, feeling it hum in my hand, and stuffed it into my pocket, as if that could hide me from the rising fury. "I'm not trying to kill anyone," I said, voice shaky but steadying, like I was facing down a rowdy crew back at the shipyard. I just touched it. That's all. The woman stepped closer, her eyes never leaving mine, each step graceful but charged, like a storm holding back. Give it to me, she said, her hand outstretched, fingers gleaming like crystal, hovering but not touching, as if she feared the stone itself. You don't know what you're holding. I met her gaze, searching those amber depths for answers. Earth taught me not to back down from vague threats, not to grovel before things I didn't understand. Then tell me, I said, voice steadier than I felt, though my heart pounded like it wanted out. What is it? And why are you so scared of me holding it? Before she could answer, a piercing screech echoed from afar, like metal being torn apart, and her eyes darkened, as if she sensed something terrible closing in. She froze, lips parting as if to speak, but a deafening explosion rocked the bar, like the steel floor itself was ripped open. The main door blasted inward, metal shards flying, and a squad of black-armored soldiers stormed in, their weapons glowing with deadly blue energy. They weren't human, faces hidden behind sleek, featureless helmets, moving with cold, mechanical precision, like machines built to kill. The crowd erupted into chaos, screams and stampeding feet drowning out the music. Some bolted for the exits, others dove under tables, glasses shattering, the sharp stink of spilled liquor mixing with smoke and dust. I didn't think, just acted. I grabbed the woman's arm, yanking her toward the bar, where stacks of metal kegs formed a makeshift shield. We crouched low, the cold steel floor biting through my knees. Heavy boots clanked closer, methodical, like death counting steps. Who are you? I whispered, heart hammering, keeping my voice low enough to avoid detection. She looked at me, her amber eyes now sharp as honed steel. Lyra, she said, voice low but clear, cutting through the din. And you just made yourself the biggest target in this galaxy. Great, I muttered, rolling my eyes, scanning for an escape. One of the soldiers approached, his weapon's light sweeping over our hiding spot, casting eerie blue streaks across the kegs. I heard a metallic click, like he was checking every corner. Lyra's grip tightened on my arm, nails digging into my skin. Before I could react, she yanked me down through a hidden trapdoor under the bar. The hatch snapped open, and we plummeted into a dark tunnel, the stench of oil and rot hitting me like a fist. I landed hard, pain shooting through my shoulder, but Lyra was already up, pulling me forward. Follow me, she ordered, voice sharp and non-negotiable, like tempered steel. I stumbled after her, the sounds of pursuit echoing behind, clanking armor, shouts from those left behind. The tunnel was narrow, walls stained with rust and dangling cables, dim light flickering from dying bulbs like they were gasping. My breath came heavy, but the stone in my pocket hummed, urging me on. Who are they? I panted, running to keep up. Those black armor guys. Lyra didn't look back, her voice ice cold. Henchmen of the Obsidian Council. They want the stone, and they'll burn this station to ash to get it. The tunnel opened into an underground market, a dazzling maze of chaos and order. Hundreds of creatures jostled between stalls, trading everything from gleaming plasma rifles to glowing orbs that floated like they were alive. The air was thick with spicy fumes, smoke, and molten metal, dizzying me. Lyra moved like a phantom, weaving through the crowd, her silver hair flashing under the lights. But she kept her distance, always a few steps ahead, like she didn't fully trust me. I gripped the stone through my pocket, feeling it warm through the fabric. This stone, I called after her, voice half lost in the market's roar. What's it do that's got the whole galaxy losing their minds? Lyra stopped in a dim corner, turning to face me. Her eyes flickered, curious, wary. It's a key, she said, voice dropping like she was sharing an ancient secret. The key to the Galactic Gate, a portal to the universe's heart. Whoever controls it controls everything, time, space, fate. I froze, rooted amidst the bustling crowd. A guy like me, who only knew engines and barroom brawls, holding something that could reshape the galaxy? Then why don't you take it? I asked, voice louder than I meant. Lyra's laugh was bitter, like I'd prodded an old scar. Because I can't. Only a few, chosen by the stone itself, can touch it without being destroyed. And you, Caleb Voss, are one of them. Before I could process that, a massive explosion shook the market, dust raining from the ceiling. The crowd screamed, stalls collapsing, glowing orbs bursting like fireworks. The black-armored soldiers had found us, but they weren't alone. A monstrous thing led them, part spider, part machine, its 8 metal legs stabbing into the floor, leaving smoking craters. A hunter, Lyra whispered, her voice trembling for the first time, though only a flicker. We bolted, dodging through shattered stalls, the crowd's screams blending with the screech of energy weapons. I'm no hero, just a guy who fixes ships, but the stone in my pocket pumped adrenaline through me, my legs moving faster than I thought possible. I grabbed Lyra's arm, pulling her into a narrow alley where a dusty hovercar sat, its wheels warped but engine looking functional. Can you drive? I asked, scrambling into the passenger seat, breath ragged. I've piloted warships, she said, fingers flying over the controls. The car roared to life, engine screaming, and we shot through the station's maze, crashing through glowing billboards, lights shattering like glass. The hunter pursued, its legs piercing steel walls like butter, the screech of metal making my hair stand on end. Lyra swerved with precision, dodging energy blasts, but her eyes flicked to me, like she was weighing something. You don't trust me, do you? I shouted over the howling wind. I don't trust anyone who holds the stone, she replied, voice cool but not cruel. It changes people, Caleb. Makes them crave power. I wanted to argue, to say I didn't give a damn about power. But a strange feeling stirred, like the stone was whispering, not words, but images, planets ablaze, armies kneeling to a shadowy figure. I shook it off. I don't want power, I said, voice firmer than I felt. I just want to live through today. Lyra glanced at me, her gaze softening, like she saw something worth believing in. Keep thinking that, she said, and you might outlive me. The hovercar finally slowed, its engine whining like it was about to melt. Lyra steered us into a massive junkyard, where derelict ships piled up like a graveyard of cold steel, their twisted hulks looming under Zephyr 9's faint light. My heart still pounded like it wanted to break free, but the hunter, that spider machine nightmare, seemed to be left behind, at least for now. Lyra stayed silent, motioning me to follow as she leapt from the car, her steps light but alert, like a predator sniffing for danger. We wove through narrow paths, cables dangling like spiderwebs, the smell of burnt oil hitting me like a memory of Earth's shipyards. Lyra led me to an abandoned ship's hold, its rusted hull pocked and peeling, the half-jammed door both inviting and threatening. Inside, darkness swallowed everything, broken only by faint beams slipping through cracked panels above. She knelt, brushing aside debris to reveal a device like an ancient star chart, its surface glimmering with symbols I couldn't read. This is our only way to find the gate, she said, fingers grazing the device. It flared to life, dots of light spinning like a miniature galaxy, pointing to a region of space uncharted on any map I'd seen, and I'd seen plenty, from my days hauling freight on dusty routes. I opened my mouth to ask more, but a voice cut through the dark, cold as a blade slicing air. Thank you for leading me here, Lyra. A man stepped from the shadows, his skin ashen gray, eyes glinting like shattered glass under starlight. He wore a cloak like Lyra's, but heavier, edged with metallic sheen, radiating danger like a coiled snake. This Earth boy, he continued, locking eyes with me, is the perfect key. Kale. Lyra growled, gripping an energy dagger, its purple blade flaring. You shouldn't be here. I stood between them, hand tightening on the stone in my pocket, feeling it pulse like a living heart. Who's he? I asked, forcing my voice steady despite the sweat trickling down my neck. My brother, Lyra said, eyes never leaving Kale, like a blink could spark an attack. Once a guardian of the stone, before he sold his soul to the Obsidian Council. Kale smiled, a cold, empty curve, like I was just a piece in his game. Give me the stone, Caleb, he said, voice smooth but laced with menace. I'll keep you safe from what's coming. I didn't know who to trust. The stone pulsed harder, and images flooded me, not just burning planets, but radiant cities where species lived in peace, light spreading like a promise. It felt like a choice, but I didn't know which was right. I glanced at Lyra, then back at Cale. If the stone's such a big deal, I said, eyes on Cale, voice low. Why doesn't she just kill me for it? Lyra spun toward me, pain flashing in her amber eyes like I'd stabbed her. Because I tried, Caleb. She said, voice trembling, the first time I saw her fragile. And I paid for it with everything I loved. Before I could process, Cale struck. A bolt of energy shot from his hand, bright as lightning, hurling Lyra into a steel wall. The crash rang like a bell, jolting me. Instinct kicked in. I lunged, swinging a fist at Cale's face. My knuckles hit skin hard as stone, pain shooting up my arm. He staggered, blood leaking from his lip, but laughed, voice raspy. Humans, he said, wiping the blood. Always violent, always foolish. But my punch made the stone flare, purple light bursting through my pocket. A strange power surged through me, stronger, faster, like I wasn't just Caleb Voss, some nobody mechanic. Cale swung again, another energy bolt flying, but I dodged, my body moving quicker than my brain. I grabbed Lyra, hauling her from the debris, and sprinted deeper into the junkyard, feet slipping on slick metal. You okay? I asked, as we ducked behind a massive engine, its core still faintly warm, like a dying beast. She nodded, but her eyes held suspicion, like she was seeing a stranger. You shouldn't have been able to do that, she said, voice low, almost a whisper. The stone, it's bonding with you faster than I expected. What's that mean? I asked, but Cale's heavy steps echoed closer, each one a hammer on steel. Lyra didn't answer, just pulled me toward another derelict ship, smaller but intact. She tapped a device on her wrist, the ship's controls flaring to life, engines screaming in protest. The ship lurched, tearing through the junkyard's roof, blasting into Zephyr 9's void before Cale could catch us. I glanced back through the window, his silhouette fading, but those glassy eyes still pierced me. In the cramped cockpit, stars glittering outside, Lyra sat across from me, her silver hair tangled but shining. She told me the truth, voice steady but heavy, like turning pages stained with blood. The stone wasn't just a key to the Galactic Gate, it was part of an ancient intelligence, made to choose those worthy of guiding the universe. The Obsidian Council, a cabal of tyrant species, wanted it to enslave every living thing, turning the galaxy into an obedient machine. Lyra had been part of a sect sworn to protect the stone, but she betrayed them, not for greed, but because she believed it was too dangerous to exist. I wanted to destroy it, she said, eyes distant, but I failed. And now? I asked, holding up the stone, its light bathing her face. It glowed fiercely, like it wanted to speak, but I couldn't hear it. Now you decide, Lyra said, voice firm but tinged with worry. Keep it, and you'll be hunted to death. Destroy it, and the galaxy might pay the price. After escaping Cale, we shot into the void, our patched-together junker of a ship groaning under the strain, as if it felt the weight of the choice hanging over me. Our ship, a cobbled mess of scrap, glided through clouds of stardust, where light bent into shimmering arcs, like the universe was painting masterpieces only to erase them. I slumped in the cockpit, back pressed against a cold metal chair, the stone resting on the console before me. Its faint purple glow danced across the scratched panels, bathing Lyra's face, making her silver hair sparkle like a river of stars. She was silent, eyes distant, lost in a memory I couldn't touch. I wanted to ask, to understand, but the air between us was heavy, like we were both waiting for something to shatter. You tried to destroy it, didn't you? I broke the silence, voice quieter than I meant. The stone. What happened? Lyra didn't look at me right away. She ran a hand through her silver hair, slow, like pulling herself from a dream. Then she sighed, a sound heavy with exhaustion, like wind over a dead world. I got close to the gate, centuries ago. She said, voice low and even, like reciting a story she told herself too many times. I thought destroying the stone would stop the Obsidian Council forever. I stood before it, felt its power, and I tried, but it wouldn't let me. It chose me, then punished me. She paused, her eyes finally meeting mine, sharp as a blade. I'm cursed, Caleb. To live forever, never aging, but never free. Every day, I watch those I love die, while I'm stuck here, forced to keep going. I froze, throat dry. Centuries? She looked barely older than me, her amber eyes still blazing with life, but now I saw the pain behind them, a crack in a flawless gem. Then why stay? I asked, confusion spilling out. Why not give up, find some corner of the galaxy and live? She turned, eyes cutting like knives, like I'd insulted something sacred. Because I know the cost of failure, she said, voice trembling with anger or pain. I couldn't tell. If the Council gets the stone, they'll erase every species that doesn't obey, not just small planets, but ancient civilizations, even your Earth. I've seen it, Caleb. I've watched worlds burn, all because they wanted power. I wanted to say something comforting, to ease the darkness in her eyes, but the stone on the console pulsed, a soft beat that startled me. Images flooded in, uninvited, crashing through my mind like a tide. This time, they were vivid, sharp as my own memories, a city floating among the stars, towers gleaming with light, creatures of every kind, winged like angels, drifting like mist, living together in peace. At the center, a figure stood, holding the stone, its light spreading like a vow. That figure, it was me, but not me now. A stronger version, eyes burning with purpose, like he knew exactly what to do. I flinched, hands shaking, knocking the stone to the floor. It rolled to Lyra's feet, its glow catching the scuffs on my boots, like it was mocking me. Lyra watched me, her gaze searching for something deeper. The stone doesn't choose at random, she said, voice slow, like unveiling a secret she'd kept buried. It seeks those with the courage to face fear, but more than that, those willing to put the galaxy above themselves. People like you, Caleb, not perfect, not powerful, but who stand up when no one else will. I frowned, grappling with her words. But why me? I'm just a mechanic, not a hero. She gave a faint, sad smile. That's exactly why. The stone doesn't need heroes. It needs people who value the small things, a planet, a life, a choice. What did you see? Lyra asked, voice taut, bending to pick up the stone, handling it like a bomb ready to blow. A city, I said, piecing together the jumbled images. It was beautiful, like a dream. Creatures living together, no war, no fear. And I was there, but not me now. A different version, stronger. Lyra nodded, her eyes softening, like she'd expected it. The stone isn't just a key, she said, setting it back on the console, its light reflecting in her gaze. It's a map, a prophecy. It chooses those who can change the galaxy, but it tests them. Be careful, Caleb. It can make you a hero, or a monster. I opened my mouth to reply, but a massive explosion rocked the ship, like someone had punched the universe itself. The console flared, red lines flashing warnings. A fleet appeared on the screen, not the Council's black hulks, but ornate warships, designed like angels, their glowing wings stretching wide, tearing the night sky apart. My skin prickled. What are those? I asked, voice breaking. The Keepers, Lyra whispered, fear creeping into her voice, her hands tightening on the controls until her knuckles whitened. They claim to be the stone's true masters. A voice came through the comms, smooth as a breeze but heavy with authority, like it could bend anyone's will. Caleb Voss, you carry the seed of creation. It declared, each word carved into the air. Give us the stone, and you'll be honored, standing beside those who shape the universe. I glanced at Lyra, saw her shake her head, eyes fierce. Don't listen, she said, voice low but sharp. The Keepers don't want to protect the stone. They want to use it to remake the universe in their image, a world without freedom, just cold order, where every being kneels. I gripped the stone, its pulse syncing with my heart. I didn't know who to trust, Lyra, with her shadowed past, or that hypnotic voice. But I'm from Earth. We don't buy promises of perfection, don't bow to self-proclaimed gods. If you want it, I said into the comms, voice steadier than I felt. Come and take it. Lyra looked at me, lips curling into a smile, the first time I saw a spark of amusement in her eyes. You're insane. she said, but her tone held a trace of admiration. She slammed the controls, and the ship dove into a stardust cloud, light fracturing into 1,000 shards, scrambling the keeper's sensors. In the cramped cockpit, I clutched the stone, trying to understand it, to find answers. Then I saw, not images, but memories, deep and ancient, like living someone else's life. Memories of a species that forged the stone, tall beings with sorrowful eyes, crafting it to shield the galaxy from their own greed. But they failed, war consumed them, and the stone was lost, buried in darkness, until my fingers brushed it in the black hole. The memories of that ancient race lingered, those beings with mournful eyes, as if they'd foreseen their own downfall. I wondered if I was walking their path, carrying this stone, this mix of hope and calamity for the galaxy. But the ship's blaring alarm snapped me back, red lights flashing like a warning that our time was running out. We'd escaped the keepers, but not without cost. Our junker ship wheezed like a wounded animal, the engine coughing, smoke stinging my eyes as it poured from the console. Lyra, her face tight with rare strain, wrestled the controls, fighting to keep the ship from breaking apart in the stardust cloud. Finally, she had to make an emergency landing on a desolate planet, its surface coated in black sand that glimmered like half-burned coal, dotted with strange, towering stone pillars, warped and jagged, like ruins of a long-dead civilization. The air was thin, each breath scraping my lungs, but breathable. I stepped out, stone clutched tight, feeling it hum, not randomly, but like a call, guiding me somewhere in this wasteland. "You shouldn't leave the ship," Lyra said, following, her hand gripping an energy pistol, its blue glow lighting her face, making her amber eyes blaze. "This planet's not safe. Nowhere is, with that thing in your hand. The stone wants me to see something," I said, voice surer than I felt. I didn't know if I believed it or was just losing it, but each pulse felt like a tug, pulling me forward. We passed the pillars, each carved with swirling symbols matching the stone's veins, like they were etched by the same hand millions of years ago. Wind whistled through the cracks, whispering sounds that raised the hairs on my neck. I glanced at Lyra, saw her tighten her grip on the pistol, eyes scanning every shadow, like she expected a monster to leap out. We stopped at a temple, half buried in black sand, its massive door glowing faintly, like a pool shimmering under starlight. Symbols on the door pulsed, syncing with the stone in my hand, and I felt a strange pull, like the temple was calling my name. I stepped forward, but Lyra grabbed my arm, nails digging in. "Careful," she whispered, voice low and sharp. "This place didn't appear by chance." Before I could answer, an engine's roar kicked up sand like a mini-storm. Another ship landed nearby, sleek and sharp, nothing like our scrap heap. As the dust settled, Caleb stepped out, cloak billowing in the wind, glassy eyes glinting in the dim light. I gripped the stone, bracing for another fight, but Caleb raised both hands, palms open. "I'm not here to fight," he said, voice calm but heavy, like a promise that could break any second. "The Obsidian Council knows you're here. They've activated a doomsday weapon, a man-made black hole. If you don't hand over the stone, this whole sector will be erased, along with everything for light years." Lyra's laugh was dry, harsh as the sand under our feet. "You expect me to believe you, after everything you've done?" she snapped, pistol aimed at Caleb, her finger trembling on the trigger. Caleb looked at her, and for the first time, I saw something not cold in his eyes, regret, maybe, or an old wound. "I had no choice, Lyra," he said, voice softer. "But this boy." He turned to me, gaze piercing. "He could change everything." My head spun, like the stone was choking my thoughts. It pulsed harder, hot through my glove, and I felt a wordless truth, like it was telling me Caleb wasn't lying. "He's telling the truth," I said, making Lyra whip around, her eyes flashing with anger and worry. "I feel it. But I'm not giving up the stone. We'll use it to stop them." "You don't know what you're facing, Caleb," Lyra said, her voice almost pleading, the first time I saw her scared, not for herself, but for me. "You're wrong," I said, meeting her gaze, the stone like fire in my hand. "I know. And I'm not running." Caleb nodded, a small gesture heavy with meaning, like he'd glimpsed hope in me. "Then we work together," he said. The Council's coming with a fleet. We don't have long. But before we could move, a strange signal cut through, making the stone vibrate wildly. A familiar voice, smooth but cold, came from Lyra's wrist communicator. Caleb Voss, it said. You cannot run forever. The stone belongs to us, the Keepers, and we will reshape the galaxy to perfect order. Lyra killed the signal, her eyes darkening. They're tracking us, she said, voice low. It's not just the Council after the stone. The Keepers won't stop, and they're more dangerous than you think. The Council wants control, but these ones, they want to erase anything that doesn't fit their ideal. Cale stared into the black sand, like he saw something in it. They've sent enforcers, he said. Machines that don't tire, don't fear. If we're not quick, they'll beat the Council's fleet here. I gripped the stone, its heat like a warning. Not one enemy, but two, and me, a mechanic from Earth, standing at the galaxy's crossroads. We entered the temple, the air inside freezing, like time had stopped millennia ago. The walls glowed with moving images, swirling light sketching the Galactic Gate, a massive portal hanging among stars, radiating power that made me shiver. The stone guided me to a pedestal at the center, its smooth surface etched with symbols matching it. I set the stone down, and light erupted, a vivid purple, illuminating the room like a pocket night sky. A voice echoed, not from the stone, but from the space around us, deep and ancient, like a god roused from sleep. Chosen one, it said, each word sinking into my bones. You carry our seed, creators of the galaxy. But your choice will shape what comes. I looked at Lyra, saw her eyes full of worry but resolute, like she was ready for any outcome. I looked at Cale, saw him stand tall, hands clenched like he was holding something back. The stone hummed under my touch, and I felt the weight of this moment, not just for me, but for the galaxy. I choose to fight, I said, voice ringing clear though my heart pounded like it might burst. Not to rule, but to protect. The temple shuddered, explosions echoing like thunder, black sand raining from the ceiling onto the cold stone floor. Through cracks in the walls, I saw the sky torn apart by the Obsidian Council's fleet, massive, pitch-black ships looming like dead stars, blotting out the light of distant constellations. Each blast from their weapons shook the ground, as if the planet itself were screaming in pain. Cale, Lyra, and I sprang into action, no time left for doubt or debate. Glowing symbols on the temple walls flared, guiding us to an ancient console, its surface shimmering like woven light. Cale, with surprising deftness, activated it, and an energy shield surged, encasing the temple in a dome of faint purple light. Beams from the fleet slammed into it, erupting in dazzling bursts, but for now, the shield held. At this rate, it won't last long, Cale said, voice taut, eyes flicking over the console's pulsing lines. They'll tear it down in minutes. Amid the blasts, I glimpsed strange shapes beyond the shield, not council ships, but sleek machines, their glowing wings flickering like angels. The Keepers, Lyra whispered, her voice thick with tension. They're not attacking yet, but they're waiting. If we fail, they'll take the stone from the ashes. I met her gaze, a chill crawling down my spine. We weren't just fighting to survive, but to keep anyone, council or keepers, from seizing something that could reshape the galaxy. Lyra stood beside me, pistol still clenched, but her eyes stayed on the stone in my hand. It vibrated, scalding through my glove, like a heart pounding with fear or exhilaration, I couldn't tell. I placed it on the central pedestal, where the wall's light converged, forming a swirling mimicry of the Galactic Gate. Then the stone spoke, not in words, but in images, memories, and a piercing truth that cut into my mind like a blade. To open the gate, to stop the council, someone had to sacrifice themselves, merge fully with the stone, becoming part of its ancient power, dissolving their very self into it. I looked at Lyra, saw her amber eyes widen, like she'd guessed what I was about to do. You can't, she said, voice trembling, her hand grabbing mine, nails digging deep. You're human, Caleb. You've got a whole life ahead, friends, family, a world to go back to. And if I don't, I said, voice steadier than I felt, though my chest tightened, no one gets a future. Not Earth, not you, not anyone. I held her gaze, memorizing the fire in her eyes, a flame I wanted to carry with me. Caleb stood a few steps away, his eyes no longer cold or hostile. He looked at me, and I saw something new, respect, something I never thought I'd get from him. I was wrong about you, he said, voice low but clear, cutting through the chaos outside. Humans, you always find a way to do the impossible. Always make me rethink. I paused, hand trembling as it touched the stone. In that moment I saw Earth, not the vibrant planet from the stone's visions, but the grimy shipyard back home, filled with the smell of oil and the laughter of my crew at day's end. I saw my mom, hands calloused from work, smiling when I fixed my first engine. I saw night staring at the stars, dreaming of them, never imagining I'd stand here, ready to give it all up. She won't understand, I muttered, a sad smile flickering. But I hope she's proud. I glanced at Lyra one last time, her eyes pleading to hold me back, but I knew there was no turning back. This wasn't just for the galaxy, but for people like my mom, who deserved a tomorrow. I gave a faint smile, heart heavy. Just a mechanic trying to fix something bigger than usual, I said, voice catching. I lifted the stone, pressing it to my chest, feeling it sear like a tiny star. Pain hit instantly, like 1,000 needles piercing skin and bone, but with it came power, a torrent, like I was merging with the universe itself. Visions flooded my mind, not just of the past but the future, vivid and real. I saw Earth, no longer a speck on the galaxy's edge, but the heart of an alliance of species, cities glowing with light, where every being lived free. I saw Lyra, silver hair flowing, leading them with the courage I'd always admired, though she'd never admit it. And I saw myself, not Caleb Voss, the grease-stained mechanic, but an idea, a guiding flame, burning forever in the dark. Outside, the Council's assault intensified, energy beams hammering the shield, making it flicker like glass about to crack. Explosions mingled with the roar of ship engines, sand tearing apart, but I heard nothing but the stone's pulse. Or maybe my own heart, I couldn't tell anymore. The shield dimmed, its purple light wavering, and Caleb shouted something, lost in the noise. Lyra stood close, her hand brushing my shoulder, not stopping me, just letting me know she was there, even for one last second. I focused on the stone, on the Galactic Gate blooming in my mind, a vast swirl of light among the stars. I poured every ounce of will into it, feeling the stone dissolve into me, its power surging through every cell. A white blaze erupted from the pedestal, swallowing everything, the temple, Lyra, Caleb, the explosions, all gone in a blinding flash. Pain vanished, replaced by weightlessness, like floating in an endless ocean. When I came to, if you could call it that, I wasn't in the temple. I was somewhere else, a boundless expanse where stars danced around me, not distant specks but living things, singing melodies I didn't understand but felt. The stone was part of me now, its power in my blood, my thoughts. But I was still me, or at least, some piece of Caleb Voss remained. I looked around, no Lyra, no Caleb, just stars and a strange peace, like I'd done what I was born for. The endless light faded, like the universe was gently pulling me back, and I felt my body grow heavy, the cold, thin air of the black sand planet filling my lungs. I didn't know how long I'd been there, seconds or centuries. Time in that infinite space flowed like a river without banks, leaving no trace. Stars had danced around me, each a story, a life, and I'd felt them, not just with my eyes but with something deeper, where the stone now pulsed as one with my heart. But then, like a dream yanked back to reality, I felt myself return, body weighing me down, cold air sharp in my chest. I opened my eyes, and the black sand planet lay before me, transformed. No longer a dead wasteland, the sand glittered like a miniature galaxy, reflecting light from a radiant tower rising where the temple once stood. The tower soared, pulsing with faint purple light, not just illuminating the sky but reaching across the galaxy, a beacon in the dark. Lyra stood before me, silver hair billowing in a gentle breeze, shimmering like it was woven from starlight. Her eyes held no trace of the fear or pain I'd seen back in the black hole. Instead there was hope, a warm spark, like a fire newly kindled. She looked at me, lips trembling, searching for words to capture the impossible. "You did it," she said, voice shaking but firm, a truth unshakable. "The gate opened, but not for destruction. You sent a message to every species, every planet, from broken-down stations to the farthest worlds. A call for peace, Caleb. A chance for this galaxy to start over." But I knew peace wasn't easy. Even as the gate's message echoed across the stars, some would doubt, some would cling to old grudges. Lyra had told me of wars spanning centuries, scars that never healed. "There'll be challenges," she said, eyes serious but not hopeless. "Some worlds will resist, some will fear change. But you gave them a chance, Caleb, a light to reach for." I nodded, feeling the weight of what lay ahead. The galaxy wasn't a machine I could fix with a wrench, but I was ready to try, one step at a time. I looked around, breathing the thin air, feeling my body still human, flesh, sweat, and scars from shipyard days. But something was different, a quiet strength flowing like an undercurrent, no longer the stone but part of me. The Council's fleet was gone, no trace of their black ships or weapons' roar. The sky was clear, stars twinkling like they were singing, and I wondered if the gate's message had reached them, or if that was just what I wanted to believe. Cale stood a few steps away, his cloak no longer flapping with menace but hanging loose, like the burden of his past had lifted. He looked at me, glassy eyes now lighter, like a man forgiven. "I'll return to my people," he said, voice low but warm. "I'll tell them of the human who changed the galaxy, a mechanic from Earth, no weapons, no power, just courage and the right choice." He nodded, a small gesture heavy with meaning, then turned, walking toward a sleek ship rising from the sand, like it had been waiting. I watched him go, a strange feeling stirring, not hostility, but understanding. Cale had been an enemy, but now I saw he'd been trapped, like Lyra, like me, in a universe of hard choices. Lyra took my hand, and for the first time, I felt warmth, not just from her touch, but from the galaxy, like every star was whispering thanks. "Where to now?" she asked, voice soft, but her eyes locked on mine, like she wanted to memorize my face. I laughed, a real laugh, the first since stepping into the black hole. "Home, maybe," I said, gazing at the stars above. "Earth needs to hear this, not just about the stone, but what humans can do when they stand up. But first..." I paused, a new hunger stirring, not for power, but a mechanic's curiosity to see the universe's gears turn. "I want to see the galaxy we saved. The planets, the species, the stories I never knew." Lyra smiled, a rare grin that skipped my heart a beat. "Deal," she said, voice playful. "But fair warning, this galaxy doesn't play nice." We climbed into a new ship, not the patched-up junker, but a sleek marvel built from the temple's tech, its hull gleaming like a mirror, reflecting stars like art. I stepped aboard, the floor humming under my boots, and as we lifted off, I looked through the window, seeing the tower still shining, a reminder that what we'd done had changed everything. Lyra sat beside me, piloting with the confidence I'd come to know, but now she wasn't just an ally, not just a guide. She was part of me, like the stone had been, a piece of a story I never dreamed I'd write. The galaxy ahead was vast, full of mysteries, stardust clouds glittering like an invitation. I wasn't afraid, not anymore. I'm Caleb Voss, a mechanic from Earth, with a greasy jumpsuit and a few credits in my pocket. But I'd learned that humans, however small, can light up the dark, not with strength, but with the choices they dare to make, with the belief that one spark can change the sky.